So we're at the Hunley Center. What's the Hunley?
The Hunley is the first successful combat submarine in history. It was in the Civil War, and it brought down a Union ship, so that's its claim to fame.
The H.L. Hunley is important in world history because it was the first successful combat submarine. Experts thought they were doing a routine recovery to preserve Civil War history. However, after examining the remains found inside the Hunley, they discovered surprising evidence. The Hunley is unique. No other submarine like it existed at the time. For years, researchers were puzzled by the identity of one crew member. His face was reconstructed from his bones and clay, and he stared silently from photos and museum displays. It's like having your head up in Darth Vader's mask. You can hear your breathing and the echoing of everything around your head. Now, modern DNA testing has revealed new information about who this man was and changed part of the Hunley's story forever. Silent attack. The Hunley and the Housatonic. On February 17, 1864, near Charleston Harbor, the water was calm, but tension filled the air. The Union and Confederate soldiers had been fighting for control of this vital port for years. That night, however, something unexpected happened. The H.L. Hunley, a small submarine powered by hand cranks, moved silently through the water. It became the first submarine to sink an enemy ship. The Hunley was about 40 feet long and 4 feet wide, made of iron. 8 men worked closely together inside, cranking the propeller. Lieutenant George E. Dixon was in charge, steering the submarine toward its target, the USS Housatonic, a large Union steamship anchored about 5 miles away. The Housatonic had 155 crew members and was blocking Confederate supply routes. That night, the watch crew noticed something unusual in the water. At first, it looked like a sunken boat, but before they could react, they realized it was an enemy submarine. The Hunley crept, with only the sound of the hand-cranked propeller. Its mission was dangerous but straightforward: to drive a spar torpedo, a long pole with explosives attached, into the Housatonic's side and escape before it exploded. Witnesses later described a flash of light followed by a loud boom. The Housatonic shook violently and quickly began to sink, taking 5 sailors down with it. The rest of the crew scrambled to escape as their ship sank beneath the waves. The Hunley had succeeded. It was the first submarine to sink a ship in combat. But the victory came with a price. Back on shore, the Confederates waited for the Hunley to return, but it never came. All 8 crew members disappeared without a trace. This mystery puzzled people for many years. Some think the explosion might have damaged the Hunley, while others believe it could have been pulled under by the Housatonic's sinking. There were stories of debris floating ashore days later, suggesting the Hunley could have been caught in its own blast. In the end, all 8 men aboard the Hunley perished. The crew included Dixon, Frank Collins, James A. Wicks, Joseph Ridgway, C. Lumpkin, Arnold Becker, and 2 others who remained unknown for a long time. They all volunteered for this risky mission, even after 2 previous crews had failed. The Hunley's fate became a significant mystery of the Civil War. The ocean took everything: wreckage and stories. It wasn't until over a century later that divers and researchers brought the submarine and its history back to the surface. From wreck to lab. Let's take a step back to February 17, 1864, in Charleston Harbor. The water was calm, but there was a strong feeling of tension from the Civil War. Union and Confederate forces had been fighting over this important port for years. That night, history was about to be made with a miniature submarine called the H.L. Hunley, which would become the first submarine to sink an enemy ship in combat. The Hunley was about 40 feet long and 4 feet wide, built from riveted iron with considerable effort. 8 men squeezed inside, working hard to turn cranks that propelled the sub forward. Lieutenant George E. Dixon was in charge, guiding her toward the USS Housatonic, a large wooden ship 5 miles away that helped block supplies to the south. The Housatonic had a crew of 155 men and played a key role in the Union blockade. On that night, the crew noticed something strange moving in the water. At first, they thought it was just debris or a small boat. They didn't realize it was a submarine until it was too late. The Hunley crept, making only soft sounds in the water as its cranks spun the blades. Its plan was simple but dangerous. Ram a torpedo, a bomb on a pole, into the side of the Housatonic and escape before the explosion. This wasn't like today's smart missiles. It was a straightforward attack. Witnesses described seeing a flash of light followed by a deep rumble. The Housatonic started to sink, taking on water quickly. Within 5 minutes, it was gone, taking down 5 sailors, while the rest managed to escape in lifeboats. The Hunley succeeded in its mission, marking the first successful submarine attack in history. However, when the Hunley didn't return, it sparked many questions. The entire crew vanished without a trace. This disappearance led to many stories and theories. Some believe the explosion's force damaged the Hunley. Others think the strong current from the sinking Housatonic pulled it under. There were even rumors that it accidentally hit its own torpedo. In the past, a group of 8 men worked on a military submarine called the Hunley. They included Dixon, Frank Collins, James A. Wicks, Joseph Ridgway, C. Lumpkin, Arnold Becker, and 2 others whose names are not clear. These volunteers, a mix of soldiers and skilled workers, were aware of the risks. They had already cancelled 2 earlier trials that failed, but this time they went ahead anyway. The Hunley became a significant part of history. It took over 100 years and many technological advancements for people to find her remains. In 1995, a team led by Dr. E. Lee Spence, along with the National Underwater and Marine Agency, NUMA, discovered the submarine about 4 miles off Sullivan's Island, South Carolina. They found her lying on her side, covered in mud, as if she had just been paused in time. When divers first explored the site, they found the submarine's iron hull still intact, even though it was covered in barnacles and sea dirt. The outline of the submarine was unmistakable. The mud also revealed wood pieces, tools, and scraps of cloth that survived in the low-oxygen environment. Everyone who dove down understood they were visiting a historical site. To lift the Hunley from the seafloor, experts worked for years to ensure it wouldn't collapse. They created a cradle system to support her during the lift. On August 8, 2000, a large barge and crane were set up over the site. The divers carefully placed slings under the submarine and attached them to a steel frame to evenly distribute the weight. After thorough checks and practice lifts, they began to raise her. The Hunley surfaced after being underwater for 136 years. People gathered along the shore of Charleston to witness the event, amazed to see the black submarine rise from the mud. Once lifted, the Hunley was placed into a special tank of cool salt water to prevent rust before being transported to a lab in North Charleston for restoration. In the lab, the first step was to stabilize her. They carefully removed the thick layer of dirt and rust using small tools and some advanced equipment. This process took years to reveal the submarine's original surface. As they worked, they found items such as buttons, coins, pipes, and crew members' personal belongings, all carefully catalogued. They also discovered the crew's remains, still in their positions, indicating they had not abandoned ship. To protect the Hunley from further decay, the team soaked her in sodium hydroxide to gradually remove harmful salts from the iron. Experts from across the country studied the submarine, examining the welds and fabric recovered from the mud. This effort transformed the story of the Hunley from a historical mystery into tangible history, allowing experts to uncover the truth about its last dive. Forensics at work. The H.L. Hunley is now safely in a lab, and the focus has shifted from preserving the submarine to uncovering the human stories within it. The bones of the 8 crew members were found right where they fell, with their hands still near the cranks used to operate the sub. There were no signs of struggle, suggesting they faced a sudden disaster rather than a slow death. Experts from across the country came in to identify the crew members and learn about their lives before that final dive. The team carefully mapped the wreck and recorded the location of each piece. The well-preserved skeletons were examined for age, body type, and health issues. Some bones showed signs of heavy labor, which indicated that some crew members likely had working-class backgrounds. To learn more, they used isotope analysis to trace the crew's diets and origins. 4 members showed signs of a classic Yankee diet, while the other 4 had European dietary patterns, suggesting a mix of local and immigrant backgrounds. After establishing identities, experts began facial reconstructions. They made silicone casts of each skull to create lifelike models. The team carefully shaped facial features, resulting in figures that resembled the crew members. When they revealed these reconstructions, relatives became excited and started reaching out with photographs and family histories. Although DNA testing continued, these new faces made the crew more than just names. They represented fathers, brothers, and sons. However, a shocking discovery lies ahead, one that will challenge what people think they know about who was on board that fateful night. The man behind the iron mask. When the H.L. Hunley was brought to the lab, forensic experts started to reveal the human stories behind it. They found the remains of 8 crew members, each at their station, indicating they faced a sudden disaster, likely an explosion. Even after being underwater for 136 years, the skeletons were in good condition. The team carefully recorded details about each one, checking their bones for age, size, and health, and noting any healed fractures and signs of hard work. To learn more, they conducted isotope analysis of the teeth and bones to uncover dietary patterns. 4 crew members had typical southern diets, while the others showed signs of European diets with wheat and barley, suggesting they were newer to the Confederate side. Finding grey coats among the identified crew members, who were mainly foreigners from Germany, Britain, and Scandinavia, helped narrow down the investigation. Isotope analysis showed a mixture of Southern loyalists and European immigrants in the war effort. Investigators created facial reconstructions from the skulls, using silicone molds for realistic copies. Experts sculpted the features in clay, ensuring accuracy in age, build, and heritage, resulting in lifelike representations of the actual crew members. As the project continued, families shared old photos and family trees while DNA analysis was ongoing. Despite these efforts, the identities of 2 crew members remained unknown until DNA testing identified one as Joseph Ridgway from Talbot County, Maryland. This discovery surprised many and challenged the idea that all crew members were local to Charleston, highlighting the varied loyalties during the war. Joseph's identification became a significant symbol. His face appeared in briefings and news articles, creating a personal link to the history. His background showed that the crew was diverse, not just composed of rebels, helping refine the search for other crew members' identities. News about Joseph's story grew, emphasizing the human side of the investigation. While this shifted the research direction, many questions about how the crew was chosen and their dynamics remained unanswered. Grave goods and lingering hooks. Recent discoveries have given names to the crew members of the 64 Hunley submarine and provided them with closure. On April 17, 2004, they were buried at Magnolia Cemetery in Charleston, where 2 previous Hunley crews had been laid to rest. The event attracted families, history lovers, and military officials. Each of the 8 crew members received a flag-draped coffin carried in horse-drawn carriages, with spectators lining the route to salute them. The Hunley is now at the Warren Lash Conservation Center, where it underwent treatment to prevent rust and became a popular place to visit. Using DNA, researchers identified some crew members, bringing decades of investigation to an end. However, questions remain about how the Hunley sank. Although there is solid evidence of its attack on the USS Housatonic, the cause of its sinking is still unclear. Some theories suggest an accidental explosion or mechanical failure, while others propose the crew might have been knocked unconscious by a shockwave. The crew was found in a posed position with no signs of struggle, suggesting a sudden blackout instead of panic. There is also speculation about what happened just before the sinking. Some witnesses reported seeing a blue flash, indicating the Hunley might have surfaced briefly. Researchers continue to explore these theories using 3D simulations and other methods to determine what happened to the crew in the final moments. What do you think caused the Hunley to sink? Thanks for joining me. See you next time.